like to have him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself.
Amy, thank you so much. Appreciate everyone being here. This is a great turnout. Thank you so much. And I'm going to follow a script some here, and otherwise I'll be talking about Mars or something in about a minute. That's just who I am. I have a lot of passions. Thank you all so much for having me here and the opportunity to talk. Now I know that I am preaching to the choir today because I am preaching to reduce government debt at a Republican event. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to talk to so many people. We've been lucky to be on radio with the Kim Munson Show and other podcasts. By the way, we'll be on the Kim Munson Show again this Thursday, if you care to listen in, on KLZ 560 AM radio or her website, kimmunson.com. We've been published in the Denver Gazette several times, the Denver Post, and many other media outlets. We're off to a great start on this very long journey to defeat government debt. Where do we start? I'll probably talk for about 30 minutes. People say to me, government debt is such a very big problem. Where do we start? Well, we start by taking on no new debt. Then we work to pay off the old debt, but first, no new debt. To not take on government debt is to give up. Some people I talk to, some people are giving up, but we cannot go down that road. We must push back. We must defeat new government debt. Why am I doing this? My why. Watching the city of Denver continuously take on new debt over the past 10 to 15 years while I'm working 6 days a week and 7 days a week to pay for this debt. Not fair, Denver. Not fair one single bit. Government debt gives our tax money to the bank at the expense of those who struggle to get the bills paid, at the expense of those who struggle to get the rent paid. Government debt accelerates trickle up at the expense of those who work for a living, at the expense of those who labor for a living. Citizens for No New Debt. That's our organization. We are focused on this one single issue, pushing back on government debt. We will defeat this problem. We are the only group to focus on this one single issue, which has been surprising to me, considering that government debt is one of the largest problems that we are all going to deal with. There is no way around this, but we must remain optimistic. We will solve this problem. Starting with this November, we can have a very big impact on this problem. If we win this November, we will save the taxpayers approximately $500 million in debt service, interest fees, and other costs, wasted tax money. This is a moral crusade to defeat this addiction to debt by our government. This debt is unfair to you. This debt is unfair to me, but this debt is particularly unfair to the next generation of young adults. They deserve a better world than a world full of debt to be repaid. We will build this organization over the next 5 to 10 years to push back on government debt and to defeat new government debt. We will build this organization up to size in order to defeat new government debt whenever and wherever it presents itself throughout all of Metro Denver and Colorado. For example, last November, the Denver Public Schools took on $975 million in new debt. The Cherry Creek schools took on about $1 billion in new debt. The Aurora schools took on about $1 million in new debt. I did the amortization schedule for the Denver Public Schools. On that $975 million, they are going to pay back $2.2 billion before they have the banks paid off. No wonder they don't have enough money. We will bring initiatives to the ballot pertaining to government debt, starting with enterprise zones, that all debt must go to the voters for approval. Currently, enterprise zones are specifically excluded under Tabor law as far as going to the voters for new debt. Over the next 5 to 10 years, we will save the taxpayers billions of dollars of tax money that would otherwise be wasted on debt service. This November, on this one vote, we will save the taxpayers approximately $500 million that would otherwise go to debt service. Every dollar that we give to the bank buys just as much for the city as every dollar that we throw into a trash can. Government debt is a counterproductive waste of valuable money, and I will never stop preaching this. When the city of Denver gets behind on their budget, they cut the arts. Some of this is waste and it should be cut. They cut services. Some of this is waste and it should be cut. They cut payroll. Many of these jobs are not productive or actually anti-productive, and they should be cut. But the banks never get cut. The banks always get paid. We can put the banks at the very top of the budget because the banks always get paid. But we are going to change this. Come November, the banks are going to get cut. The banks are getting cut from our public budget, and this will benefit all of us. We began to organize Citizens for No New Debt summer of last year, knowing full well that defensive opportunities would be just ahead. We're playing defense. That's what we do, defense. On February 12th, the mayor of Denver, along with Amanda Sandoval, the president of the Denver City Council, they held a press conference to announce that they intend to go after more debt for the city. They call this debt request the Vibrant Denver Bonds, these so-called Vibrant Denver Bonds. They are spending a lot of precious time, along with millions of dollars, all in order to get the city further into debt. We were ready to respond. We were ready to respond to this financial nonsense from our city from the day of their announcement at that press conference. There's no doubt that we caught the mayor and the Denver City Council a bit off guard with our quick response. We had a report to our website in 4 days, along with our campaign logo. Nothing vibrant about that. It's a great logo. The next week I had my newspaper commentary for the Vibrant Denver Bonds published in the Denver Gazette a week after their announcement. We're playing defense, and we need to be that orange crush defense that took Denver to the Super Bowl in 1977. Remember that defense? It was called the Orange Crush. We're playing defense. Okay? That's what we're doing. They want that. We're going to defend the citizens and the taxpayers. So then they went about having 10 town hall meetings for the different council members. There's a couple council members that didn't participate in the meetings. Mayor Johnston was at all 10 meetings. I was at all 10 meetings. I don't quote the Denver Post a lot, but I'll quote the Denver Post. They said there were 2 people at all 10 meetings, Mayor Johnston and Jason Bailey. Even his staffers would rotate between the different meetings. But I had a conversation with him, really brief, about probably 8 out of the 10 meetings. I have stories for all 10, but I'll just mention a couple here. The first meeting with Chris Hines on March 12th. We were there, and we had our flyers, and we were handing out our flyers. That's how I know a lot of you in the room is from the flyer, and we caught them off guard with that. So the flyer says nothing vibrant about debt. And at the first meeting on March 12th with Chris Hines, I didn't know how many people would be there, so I printed 200. And I went to the meeting, I put a flyer in front of every spot on the tables or on the chairs. And that's why I think we caught them a bit off guard, because they didn't know how to deal with that. And on the first meeting on March 12th, about 15 minutes into the meeting, there was about 100 people there. I'm standing there, and the mayor's talking, and 2 or 3 staffers from the mayor's office, along with 2 police officers, come walking my direction. I see them walking in the door. I'm thinking, oh, that could be for me. I don't know. And they walk over to me, yeah. It was 15 minutes into the meeting. And the police say, sir, you need to leave the meeting. I get along great with police officers. The mayor's staffers didn't understand. I get along great with police officers. It takes me about a minute, and we're good friends. I said, well, it's a public meeting. And they're like, well, they don't want you here. And the mayor's staffers were there, and they said, you'd have to leave. I go, it's a public meeting. It's a town hall meeting. And this went on back and forth for about 4 or 5 minutes. And Chris Hines was over there in his chair, and I said to the police officer, I go, let's make a deal. And I don't generally talk to police officers that way, but I knew that they had no problem with me being there, but they had calling them. They're staffers. And I said, hey, there's Chris Hines. This is his meeting. It's the first meeting. Why don't you ask them? Because if he wants me to leave, I'll leave. And if he says I can stay, I'll stay. And they said, okay. And one of the police officers walked over and talked to Chris, and Chris comes rolling over and said, I know Chris. I talk to Denver City Council every week for 2 years, and I realize I'm talking to the wall. And that's why I'm on the outside, pushing back from on the outside. It was talking to the wall. And so I know Chris, and I was pretty darn sure Chris was not going to have me leave. And he rolls up, he goes, so you didn't interrupt the meeting? I go, no. And he goes, okay, you can stay. And I go, he didn't know. I had my side of the argument too. I go, well, are you going to say that bonds pay for things? Because we've had a couple personal discussions or arguments when he says bonds pay for things. I go, well, actually the taxpayer pays for it. And when you say bonds pay for it, it's kind of disrespectful when I'm working 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and you're giving the credit to the banking system. The taxpayer is the only way the money goes from the people to the government. It's the only way the government pays for anything. So he goes, well, I don't think so. And I said, okay, sounds good. We got a deal. Anyhow, moving on. But that's why I think we caught him a bit off guard. And then the next 9 meetings was just fine. We set precedent on that first meeting. I had the right to be there and put a flyer on every table, and we had our showdown, and it was all good. The flyers, I met Kathleen Gillis and at one meeting, and Denise Rich. Well, I was lucky because 2 weeks later, Denise held a fundraiser for Danielle Jurinsky, and she invited me over. And I met a room full of intelligent people: Kim Munson, Dana Bush, who introduced me to Diane Volta. Denise twice asked me during that fundraiser for Danielle Jurinsky for a stack of business cards, because she was busy giving a card to every person in the room that said "Citizens for No New Debt." So I was so glad to be there. It felt like heaven. Here's an email I received from Denise from the flyer at the meeting, the town hall meetings. It says, Jason, I picked up your flyer. Nothing vibrant about debt. I am very interested in joining your group or helping out in some way. Love the passion. Let me know what is needed or what I may be able to do to help spread the word on this insanity. Denise Rich. So that's been very good for us on all the networking. Mayor Johnston and the Denver City Council, they are busy gaslighting the voters of Denver. Let's take a quick look at their nonsense. Number one, the mayor continues to talk about no new taxes as he campaigns for his new debt. In general, government debt takes twice as much tax money per road, per bridge, as not using debt. Twice as much tax money before we get the bank paid back. Of course, the mayor of the city is just trying to deceive the voters of Denver, considering that it's impossible to repay government debt without twice as much tax money. He should not be talking about no new taxes. Asking the voters to approve debt without raising taxes is like asking the voters to confirm that 10 minus 5 equals 10. The voters will say, yeah, sure. Here's what he does. On Tuesday, November 4th, this ballot will have nothing on taxes per se. The city of Denver will raise taxes the day after November 4th and the day before November 4th, but not on November 4th. And fees are taxes, of course. Taxes and fees are the same thing. Money from the people to the government. This is the only way that all things government get paid for. From the people to the government. There is no other way. The city of Denver, they are raising our fees on a continuous basis, and the Denver City Council will almost always vote in favor of any new fee because they are in search of more revenue, period. I talk to them every week, many weeks, twice a week when they do public hearings in addition to general comment. They are in search of more revenue. They have no end game on revenue. Their only game is more. That's their only game. I'm preaching to the choir, I know this. Debt will always push government in search of more tax money. To talk about no new taxes as he campaigns for more government debt, this is nothing but a straw argument. a straw argument to distract the voter from the real problem. The real problem is the enormous cost of government debt, regardless of any tax rate or not. Please allow for me to tell a story that may seem counterintuitive, but this is why so many people think what they think about government debt. A good friend of mine, I've known him for 20 years, Adam, owns a restaurant here in Denver. I ran into Adam last week and he said if Denver would clean up downtown and reduce the violence, we'd have a lot more sales tax and we wouldn't have to go after that debt, that new debt.